Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report, your space for Black news, views, and opinions. Today is Wednesday, January 12th, 2022. I'm Seth Lemon.
Peace and blessings. I'm Nielle.
I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo. And on today's report, President Biden, he says he's ready to bypass the filibuster for voting rights. The Senate passes a bill to honor Emmett Till and his mother. And Inglewood, California's Mayor James T. Butts is here to talk about hosting this year's Super Bowl and COVID-19 protocol.
Plus, smart guns are on the way, and Jay-Z is mad at federal prosecutors, and we're going to tell you why.
Can't wait to hear that, Romeo. We have that and so much more to talk about today, and you know how we do it, in our voice, in our truth, so let's get to it.
Speaking at HBCUs, President Joe Biden formally gave his endorsement to bypass the filibuster in order to pass voting rights. It's a move that's been a long time coming, probably too long if you ask black leaders. But the change could allow for the passage of the John Lewis and the Freedom to Vote Acts. The president said that the bills are essential in order to ward off threats to our democracy.
Sadly, the United States Senate, designed to be the world's greatest deliberative body, has been rendered a shell of its former self. It gives me no satisfaction in saying that, as an institutionalist, as a man who was honored to serve in the Senate. But as an institutionalist, I believe that the threat to our democracy is so grave that we must find a way to pass these voting rights bills. Debate them, vote, let the majority prevail. And if that bare minimum is blocked, we have no option but to change the Senate rules, including getting rid of the filibuster for this.
Biden plans to meet with Senate Democrats tomorrow on Capitol Hill, ramping up pressure on them, especially two possible holdouts, Senators Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. Those two moderates have expressed reservations about voting to axe the filibuster, arguing that it's a vital part of the Senate's process. Now, Majority Leader Charles Schumer, he vowed to force a vote on the legislation this week if Republicans block it as expected. But Schumer says he'll bring up a rules change vote by Monday, which is also MLK Day. So President Biden and Vice President Harris say they're going to be working the phones this week, trying to ramp up that pressure on Senate Democrats. They are concerned about Manchin and Sinema. They couldn't get the support to get the Build Back Better bill passed. So now they're turning to voting rights. But it seems that there's still this up and down, back and forth of whether they've got enough support from the whole majority.
You know, I don't know if this is a conspiracy theory or not, but it took Joe Biden a long time to kind of come around, and a lot of people were wondering why is that. There's this clip that started surfacing literally today, actually two clips, one from 2005, one from 2019, where Joe Biden is clearly saying that he does not support abolishing the filibuster. The one in 2005, he says that abolishing the filibuster will be an arrogance of power and a fundamental power grab by the majority party. And so I feel like what took Joe Biden so long to come around was that he was fearful that these clips, the day that he said he would be okay with abolishing the filibuster, carving out the filibuster, that clips like this would make it to the internet. And so I feel like this is what kind of held him off, because he was afraid that people would come for him. And it's like, hey, if they do, so what? Do this for the people that voted for you.
The civil rights, the filibuster, I found out, is used a lot to stop civil rights action. So the filibuster was used for anti-lynching bills. It was used for bills that had to do with discrimination against people of color, when it has to do with housing, had to do with poll taxing. Another fact that I found very interesting, let's not forget the Freedom to Vote Act is Manchin's bill. It's his bill. So it seems like he's fighting against a bill that he redesigned to push through to the Republicans, and now he's against his own bill. And so something is just not meshing on Capitol Hill. But I am so thankful that the Biden administration is making calls. We know that Michelle Obama's initiative, When We All Vote, they've put out a call for people to call their senators. And that's what people are doing now. They are picking up the phone, they're calling the Senate, and they're telling their senators, hey, we want you to pass these two bills.
Definitely want them to do that. And I don't know if you heard that applause where he was yesterday, President Biden. At the end of the day, it was kind of mediocre. That's how some people are feeling about this move. Like, look, We can talk about it all we want in the streets. You have to push it through. So the clock is ticking for President Biden and his administration to get this done.
Yeah, the pressure is on, and it's on Capitol Hill. Democratic Caucus Chair Hakeem Jeffries, as well, he's from New York, blasted congressional Republicans for their call to not pass the voting rights bill. Take a look at what he had to say.
What happened? Was it the election of Barack Obama? What happened? The voting rights now is a partisan thing. And Republicans are largely allergic to the notion of one person, one vote, intent on suppressing the ability of people, particularly in certain communities of color, to participate in our democracy.
During this press conference yesterday, Jeffries went on to go after Republicans for their hostility towards the bill.
A black woman made history this week, becoming the first transgender official in the entire United States to lead a city council. Minneapolis council members unanimously voted for Andrea Jenkins. It's the second time she's made history. She became the first openly trans black woman elected to public office in 2017. Her voice garnered national attention when police killed George Floyd, a resident of her district. The Democrat hopes her win inspires other trans and gender nonconforming people, and she hopes her work helps heal the hurt and the black, brown people and her city that they felt. Jenkins says she will not stop fighting for accountability with the Minneapolis Police Department, adding that record levels of anti-trans violence and legislation only serve as motivation.
There's an update in the investigation into the murder of Chicago-born rapper and Memphis legend Young Dolph. So the authorities that arrested 23-year-old Justin Johnson, better known as Straight Drop Tuesday, that happened Tuesday afternoon. He posted on Instagram earlier this week that he would turn himself in, but he never showed up. Police offered a $15,000 reward for information leading to his arrest, and the second suspect, Cornelius Smith, was also captured and indicted on several charges, including first-degree murder. Smith also faces an attempted murder charge in the shooting of Young Dolph's brother, who was with him at the time. Now, the third suspect that we just got information on earlier this morning, his name is Shundell Barnett, a passenger in the vehicle driven by Johnson when he was captured. He's facing charges of accessory after the fact for his role in helping Johnson. Marshals received more than 500 tips after learning about the $15,000 reward. So, Seth, you'll remember, I thought about you when we read this part, when we said the $15,000, you were like, well, it feels like that's kind of low.
Yeah.
But I mean, clearly there were a lot of people that felt, you know what, I can do some things with $15,000. Also, it was good to know, a lot of people, after someone dies, there's street code, right? You have street code and you don't want to go over street code. You don't want to be involved, been it, not in it. There were a lot of people that were like, hey, I know something and I'm going to say something. And so that's really good to know, too, that these people were able to be captured, because sometimes you see with street politics, the person does not get captured sometimes.
It might not have even been about the money, all those tips, those hundreds of tips they got. He was beloved by that community in Memphis. He did a lot of good for the community there, and he was a beloved figure. They've renamed christened a street there in his honor now. So I'm not surprised that hundreds of people reached out to police despite street politics, despite not wanting to snitch. This was something that shouldn't have happened. And they made sure that they were able to give police the tips to find whoever they needed to.
Another conversation that we have to talk about on a larger level is black on black crime. And it affects our community so much. When you look at Chicago, we had a problem here in California, and just all in urban communities, black on black crime is still an issue. And we have to find a way within our communities to address it, because we know that the police is an issue and we want criminal justice reform, but we also have to look at why we have so much black on black crime as well.
I agree with that. And look, we can't put a price on anyone's life, but obviously someone can use the $15,000. But it's so important that they picked up the phone, they reached out and got these men so we can put them behind bars, because they took away a life that was so unnecessary. And prayers continue to go out to his family.
The Senate has passed a bill to award the Congressional Gold Medal to Emmett Till. Now, Emmett was just a teenager when he was murdered by white supremacists in the 1950s. He was abducted, tortured, and killed after witnesses say he whistled at a white woman at a grocery store in Mississippi. The killing galvanized the civil rights movement. His mother, Mamie Till Mobley, insisted on an open casket funeral to demonstrate the brutality of his killings, and Jet magazine published the photos of his brutalized body. Now, Senator Cory Booker and Richard Burr introduced the bill to honor Till and his mother with the highest civilian honors that Congress awards. They described the legislation as long overdue. Now, the House version of the legislation is sponsored by Rep. Bobby Rush. He also sponsored a bill to issue a commemorative postage stamp in honor of Mamie Till Mobley. This is a great symbolic gesture, but we know that in 2020, then Senator Kamala Harris and Cory Booker introduced the Emmett Till anti-lynching bill. It's still sitting on the desk in the Senate, and it has not moved. So while we have these symbolic gestures, lynchings are still happening in this country. And it's just interesting how the Senate, which is when you look at the Republican landscape, predominantly, overwhelmingly white men, how they continue to just ignore the cries of people of color in this country.
No, Neo, that's a great point, because that's the conversation right now that I'm seeing myself a lot online. Because yesterday I was really excited about the Maya Angelou quarter. I was really excited about that. But even here and outside of here, a lot of people feel like all of this symbolic, is this just to hold us over? Is this just a distraction to let us know, like, hey, we're going to give you some trinkets, but no real action, no real protections, no reparations are really happening, Neo? Like you're saying, the anti-lynching bill still being held up. So what is really happening here? Because again, I was so excited about Maya Angelou on the quarter, but now I'm kind of starting to feel kind of how you guys were feeling yesterday, like, what is really happening? Are we really getting anything, or just something to hold us over for a little bit?
Yeah, these seem like some very hollow performative gestures from the Senate. The fact that this 2018 anti-lynching bill is still sitting there, it's 4 years later now, and they still cannot agree on that, but they are able to come together as Republicans and Democrats and agree on symbolism consistently. Juneteenth, the holiday. Now we've got people on quarters that are African-American legends. And to see these congressional medals, great. They deserve them today, they deserve them then, but we want to see something more substantive. All right, now, a man punched and kicked in the head by Atlanta area police officers during a traffic stop 5 years ago has agreed to a settlement with the department. Demetrius Hollins filed a federal lawsuit against the Gwinnett County Department, alleging the stop was unjustified and that the officers used excessive force. County records confirmed the Board of Commissioners authorized a $400,000 settlement last week. You see the video there, which is absolutely disturbing. Hollins was just 22 years old when those Lawrenceville police officers stopped him in 2017. And that video, filmed by a witness, it showed a sergeant punching him as he exits the car with his hand raised. As a second video shows another officer stomping on his head. Both of those officers were fired the very next day after that video went viral.
Florida community organizer and activist Ben Frazier says he's going to file a federal civil rights lawsuit against Governor Ron DeSantis if the trespassing charges against him are not dropped. Officers arrested Frazier before a news conference with the governor and health officials last week in Jacksonville when he and other activists openly criticized the governor's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Video shows members of DeSantis' staff repeatedly asking him to leave before the event even began. Police handcuffed and removed him, charging him with a misdemeanor. Now, this week, the activist and his attorney say that they hope the charge is dropped, but they will file suit against the governor if it is not.
And in the words of the First Lady, Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high. I am not going to involve myself in the mudslinging with this governor. I'm going to stay on message and keep the principles at hand. Let's sit down, have an honest, straightforward conversation about issues concerning most Floridians, and especially those affecting Black people and people of color.
Frazier, who relies on a motorized wheelchair, he said that he also plans to sue the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office for ignoring protocol while arresting a person with a disability. That's a big point there, arresting a person with a disability and ignoring that. Very, very important there. But I really think that Ben Frazier is courageous. He was asking public questions in a public place. He should not have been treated this way. What about freedom of speech? And I mean, this is a Black man also. What's going on here with this? This video does does not look good.
No,
and I
it's
think he has,
disturbing.
and also think he has a good case as well.
It's disturbing, it's disrespectful. No one should have to go through this. And again, to me, it's just them being petty. Look, when you know you're in the wrong and this man is trying to ask honest questions to get those real answers, this is how you do it. You push back and you fight back in the wrong way. So this is far from being over.
Yeah. Ben Frazier is brave for sure. He was not afraid to speak his mind when he showed up at this event. And he feels that Governor DeSantis is using his campaigning stops, as he's calling them, to really push for his political aspirations and using the pandemic as the vehicle that is getting him national attention. But at the same time, he feels he's disregarding communities of color in particular by just ignoring them and not even hearing from them. How dare you remove this activist who is a stronghold in the community and then hold your event somewhere else so you don't even have to talk to him?
Honestly, he's asking the questions that many of us have, but he was the one that was brave enough to go ask him, so he needs to be commended for that.
Absolutely.